Another day, another victory for the OGs. We took a dub. We took a 30-point win, about $650 on the day. I gotta start talking in percentages more. I gotta get this whole idea of money out of my head. So about 1.3%, I want to say. Yeah, give or take about 1.3% on the day. Let me just clear this real quick. Oh, those were the indicators. But yeah, going into the day, I just wanted to briefly look at the higher time frame. The higher time frame is so important. You always got to check it out before the day starts. Otherwise, you're going to miss things. You're going to miss obvious draws on liquidity. And today, the obvious draw was this low resistance liquidity on the higher time frame. So this to me was the target. And when targeting low resistance liquidity, I like to target the start. So this candle right here is what started this low resistance liquidity run. So I mark up the low that started it. We swept this high here. We barely displace above it, and then we start dribbling down to the downside. We slowly start heading towards the low resistance liquidity run here. So if we look at the 1 minute, let's look at the 1 minute. I took this trade at, I believe, 10.50. So there we go. One more important thing I'm going to point out here is the fact that we put in relative equal lows right here. So I'm going to mark that out. We'll jump back onto the one. And as you can see, first of all, this is the low resistance liquidity line. This is that low that I marked up earlier. So you can see the 1 minute comes very close to taking that low from a couple days ago, doesn't, and puts in basically perfect relative equal lows. So this was my thought process before the trade. So we're sort of dancing around here, and I'm sort of hesitant to take any shorts. I had this marked up and I was willing to go short if we broke this. However, the reason I wasn't too confident was because we had relative equal highs above. So as of 10:20, 10:30, we're sort of stuck between two very obvious liquidity pools. So we have these perfect relative equal lows, as you can see right here. We have these relative equal lows, and we have these relative equal highs on the 1 minute. So if you're taking any trades in here, it's not very high probability, just because you don't know which set of equal highs or equal lows we're going to want to take first. So that's why I was very patient. I waited. We swept these equal highs here, swept those boys, and we barely displaced above them. No candles closed above these highs. We just wicked above, just tickled those highs, swept liquidity there, and then I started looking for a reversal towards these equal lows. And again, this trade was at 10.50, so that's why it's so important to remain patient. I was sat on my ass for an hour and a half before I took this setup. There were many setups that I could have rushed beforehand, but I knew that we had both of these sets of relative equal highs and lows, so I didn't want to rush anything. I wanted to wait for a A++ setup, and that's what I did. I'm getting a lot better at that, but you could argue that this is a decent long here to these highs. Again, I didn't want to take it because we had these lows. So I really exercised my patience today, just waiting for the perfect setup. And once we swept these highs, that's when the light started flashing in my head, and that's when I was ready to start looking for shorts. So the first short opportunity I saw, I ended up taking. We get a very obvious 1 minute gap here. We drop straight through that boy, and I enter short as soon as this candle closes. Stop above this fair value gap. So again, we inverse it, candle closes below. As soon as this candle closes, I enter, and I believe I took profits at this candle here. And again, this draw is so obvious to me. In hindsight, I really should have held this trade, but we did capture about 30 points. So that's a relatively big trade for me. I'm not going to beat myself up for not holding to these lows. But again, I got to practice holding my winners longer. You could have re-entered here, you could have entered another position, or you could have entered your first position as price starts to trend lower. But yeah, this was a very clean day. As long as you wait for one of these obvious highs or lows to get swept first, price was relatively clean, and the draw towards this liquidity pool down here was somewhat obvious to me. So this was my A plus setup. Again, entered short as soon as this candle closed, took profit here, and then just watch price melt to these equal lows without me, which was kind of sad. But again, I'm happy with that dub. I'm happy with that win. So I'll take it. Super, super solid trading day. I like the fact that I was very patient. I only took one setup and then closed my computer for the day, which is something I've been trying to preach for a while. Less is more when it comes to trading. Just sit on your ass, play some chess, do whatever, keep your mind busy, and just wait for those A plus setups, man. There's no need to rush it, because if you do wait, a lot of the time you will get that setup later on in the day. So that's exactly what I did. And just a quick rundown on the funded account. So the account's currently sitting at 51.4. So we're basically up 3% on the account, another 3% to go. Again, really like the way I've been trading recently. I gotta be so careful what I say, because anytime I get too cocky, I always seem to get burnt, but I'm gonna say it, I don't care. These accounts are getting, I'm getting fairly consistent at passing these funded accounts, it seems. I passed the previous one in 3 weeks. I'm already up 3% on this one. So I'm feeling very hopeful, and I'm looking to get this passed soon. And then, yeah, just got to be a little bit more disciplined once I do pass the accounts, and hopefully start trading on the live account soon. So that's basically it.